So is modafinil, which by the way, in my opinion, is one of the most effective and easiest and pretty sustainable nootropics to be taking for high level brain performance that lasts hours, sustainable though? Is modafinil actually sustainable? I mean, will it give you long-term side effects? Are there dangers in taking it? Could you take it over the course of 10 years, you know, so long as you're cycling it correctly and not really run into any problems, but still have excellent brain performance? That is the topic of this video, and we're going to get into it because of all the major nootropic chemicals that we use and that people use to turn on brain performance and energy, modafinil is right up there. I mean, this is a top-tier compound. So, I mean, you want to look at the scientific literature and you want to look at people's experiences and truly diagnose whether or not it is sustainable for longer term use. If you need to hack the dopamine system, get the Supercharged Dopamine Speed course, just launched about a month ago, been one of the hottest products that we've launched so far. Guys, the Torque nootropic stack right now is BOGO, and we've got probably about 400 more bottles to sell at buy one, get one free. So my loss is your gain right now on a very powerful nootropic stack. Code for that is Torque BOGO, buy one, get one free. Cortex stack, 15% off. Code for that is 15 now. This is a high-level stimulant, high-level focus, clean stimulant flow. So modafinil, look, is it sustainable? I mean, can you take it 3 times a week ongoingly and really not have any long-term issues or a problem with it? I think that's a question that people certainly want the answer to and people want to know. It's like if you find, look, once you found a nootropic or set of nootropics, like either a singular stack or a couple of different stacks that work really well for you, like you just don't want to give it up. Brain performance is important. We've got shit to do. Productivity is what we're executing. Everybody wants to feel good and function good. So I'm going to answer the question, is modafinil actually sustainable to take from a performance perspective here in this video? Well, we have to go to the scientific literature, don't we? Titled Long-Term Efficacy and Safety of Modafinil or Provigil for the Treatment of Excessive Daytime Sleepiness Associated with Narcolepsy. Keep in mind that this drug is initially prescribed for narcolepsy, for people that just can't stay awake. That's why it's so potent for people that don't have narcolepsy, because it really turns on brain function and wakefulness. We're in at the end, they go, conclusions. Modafinil is effective for the long-term treatment of EDS or excessive daytime sleepiness associated with narcolepsy and significantly improves perceptions of general health. Modafinil is well tolerated with no evidence of tolerance developing during 40 weeks of treatment. Here's a paper that's titled Modafinil-Induced Changes in Functional Connectivity in the Cortex and Cerebellum of Healthy Elderly Subjects. Now, this isn't really saying a whole lot about like long-term safety, but it does say something interesting, which is the main finding of the study is that modafinil promotes enhanced centrality, a measure of the importance of nodes within functional networks of the bilateral primary visual cortex. EC analysis also revealed that modafinil-treated subjects show increased functional connectivity between the V1 and specific cerebellar and frontal regions. That's the right inferior frontal sulcus and the left middle frontal gyrus for the brain anatomy geeks like me. There you go. This data supports the hypothesis that modafinil can modulate the corticocerebellar connectivity of the aging brain. So that's a +1 for the aging brain. But to play devil's advocate, here's a paper titled Memory Improvement by Modafinil at Cost of Metabolic Hazards, a study to decipher the benefits and risks of modafinil in rats. Now, in this study, there is something negative here. Subacute dosing of modafinil significantly elevated blood glucose levels, albeit considerably less than the diabetic group, and attenuated brain oxidative stress and acetylcholine esterase activity. I believe that's what that is. Then it goes, modafinil caused significant dyslipidemia, increased body weight, whereas mostly altered abdominal circumference in rats. Now, look, a lot of things go into your lipid profile, the serum lipid profile, you know, mainly your diet, whether or not you sleep well, if you work out, things of this nature, if you smoke, if you drink, if you consume cannabis, you know, whether or not you're on anabolic steroids and whatever. But yeah, this is kind of like not a good thing. Now, again, these are rats, and I don't know if they specify which type, but they're probably Wistar rats, which are the equivalent of like a very unhealthy American person. Another paper titled Long-Term Use of Modafinil and Armodafinil, which is, you know, one of the analogs that is more potent and requires a lower dose to be equally effective in pediatric patients with narcolepsy, in which they conclude this chart review demonstrated that modafinil and armodafinil were effective and well tolerated by pediatric patients with narcolepsy over a long period of clinical follow-ups. This is up to 10 years, guys. Concomitant administration of other psychopharmacological agents did not result in any significant side effects. Use of modafinil and armodafinil significantly improved patients' ability to stay awake and did not exacerbate pre-existing psychiatric conditions. So that's essentially a long-term study in younger people where modafinil didn't cause any long-term side effects. Let me just talk about my personal use of modafinil. So I've used modafinil for 14 years or something, on and off. At this point, probably 3 or 4 times a month. It's when either I've slept like shit and just like some circumstances have come together where I can't perform the way that I want to perform, and I need to or want to have a really killer day or a killer week where I'll just like 3 days of the week dose modafinil at 100 milligrams or so. And I've been doing that for more than a decade, and I'm great. Like, I don't have any long-term side effects of it. If I take too much modafinil, I certainly, have sleep issues and some histaminergic overload problems because it does force you to release a little histamine. Otherwise, though, so long as I'm cycling it correctly, I really don't have an issue. One of the major things that I think people should take away when dosing modafinil, especially if you're going to be dosing it somewhat consistently, is you are forcing dopamine to be available in the synapse a little more than usual. So probably you're going to end up with somewhat depleted dopamine for a brief period after dosing modafinil, especially consistently. The way to get around that, in my experience, has been to dose mucuna purines the day of or the day after dosing modafinil so that you're repleting some of that neurologically usable dopamine. Now, there is actually a subreddit for modafinil, believe it or not. It's called r/modafinil, and here's a thread titled "Long-Term Users, Any Side Effects or Concerns," in which a guy goes, "Hey, I'm 25, been taking r/modafinil 100 to 150 milligrams almost every day for 5 years straight." Now, that's a pretty high dose for the record. He goes, "Besides irritability and lack of appetite, I rarely have any side effects at all." Guy in the comments goes, "I've taken 100 milligrams for 7 years straight, doing shift work, yes, daily, and it still does the job. Highly noticeable if I don't take it, no side effects. I do believe the medication was developed to be taken like this, and studies to date haven't supported tolerance effects or major adverse side effects for most people." Now, he's actually right. In the scientific literature, the data does not support long-term risks or long-term major deleterious side effects of the use of modafinil. Again, you've got one study with Wistar, probably Wistar rats, which are unhealthy rats, which you really can't extrapolate in this particular case to human beings, a healthy human being. Because again, modifying the lipid profile, there's a lot of factors, diet-wise, exercise-wise, sleep-wise, testosterone-wise, that go into your lipid profile. You can't just look at it from one drug perspective or one agent's perspective. So generally, my take on modafinil after 14 years or so of use, again, not every day, but 3-4 times a month. I mean, there were stints where I dosed it probably 10 times in a month. I'm fine. Your boy is good. I don't have any long-term issues or weird side effects. Again, I can get irritable or have sleep problems if I dose the stuff too high, certainly. But what's clear about modafinil is it was made, for narcoleptic people to be taken consistently. And it's very well studied, over the long term. What I think is, in addition to keeping some dopamine around and some inhibition of the GABAergic system, so GABA neurotransmitter, because that's happening, and look, it modifies other neurotransmitters too. I don't think from a nootropics person or a performance perspective, like just somebody trying to get excellent brain performance, that one should be dosing it daily. I don't think so. I think you can get away with it. I just wouldn't do that personally, because I know checks and balances in the brain, right? You modify transmitter to some significant extent consistently. You got to back off for a little bit, give that a break, let them rebalance, and then you can go back to whatever compound you were taking. In some cases, I mean, some compounds are meant to be taken every day, and that's totally fine. So, the wonder nootropic, the drug made for narcolepsy, the effective smart drug for performance people, business people, entrepreneurs, and other people, is it sustainable to be taken consistently over the long duration? My opinion, not a medical doctor, my professional opinion on this, considering all this data and my personal use and clients' use, is yes, so long as you are cycling appropriately. 3 days on, 4 days off, I think is an appropriate cycle for modafinil. All right, as I said at the beginning, I got coupon codes for you guys for product. Number one, 15% off the Cortex stack. I mean, this is a high-level stimulant, but also focus and flow, designed by yours truly. Code for that is 15 now. You can do that in the description of this video or at livecortex.com. Here's the big one, boys, the Torque Nootropic stack. Most purchased nootropic on there. I mean, this stuff is so powerful for energy, all-day energy, motivation, the drive to work, productivity, verbal fluency. Buy one, get one free. Right now, code for that is TorqueBOGO. And I will leave you guys with a quick clip showing you the goods. Go get some Torque right now. Watch this video. Ciao.